the channels I subscribe to that isn't a prepper channel is Issacs' is a great channel. Every Thursday or so he puts out a video looking at hard science fiction, and also looking at potential scenarios and how post-scarcity worlds will develop and function, how we'll colonize the solar system and other stars. And I really like his long videos that he does that are very well produced. A look at the possibility of future civilizations rising and falling. It's long been observed that empires tend to rise and fall in a seeming cycle, never identical, but sharing many similarities. Today we will examine the idea that this may be the reason that we have encountered no advanced civilizations in our own galaxy, and that the solution to the Fermi Paradox as to why we have seen no alien civilizations may be that they are caught in a perpetual loop, unable or unwilling to use technology which might allow them to travel the cosmos. We will also consider if such a loop awaits us, or that we are already in it. So you know, Uncle Al here, I'm actually using notes. So, we do know that history tends to repeat, not exactly as it is, but history does repeat in the cyclical ways. Formation of pyramids all across the planet, stuff like that. The obvious answer to technological and difficult problems tends to present in the same way, but is expressed in different ways. And that's fairly known. We do know that in the past there have been large and fairly complex civilizations that have arisen and fallen. Sometimes they've risen for many years. So all across the planet there have been civilizations that have produced incredibly complicated and technologically advanced structures made out of stone and carved by hand. Some people claim lasers were used, etc., etc., and that's an attractive thing, but I'll get into why that's probably not true in a minute. So Petra, Wall of China, Mayan civilizations, Japanese civilizations, Chinese civilizations, even old poor British civilizations. Stonehenge was certainly technologically difficult to build. And of course the Egyptians, with their major pyramid systems that they have all over the Egyptian area. So what does that mean for us? Now Arthur Isaacs says, he looks at what the effects of this would be and what the reasons would be for cultures to either destroy themselves at a certain level of technological advancement, or to realise that they could destroy themselves at a technological rise and to self-limit for that. He also discusses why that's fairly difficult to do. He also talks, I think, in really interesting detail about rebuilding a collapsed civilization. That no matter, even if it's a fast nuclear war, if some of the people survive, he talks about books, he talks about finding junk that will kickstart future technology. And what I found really interesting in this particular one is he specifically talks about fossil fuels. So I think one of the things that we as preppers are perennially worried about is a major collapse in society. All the iron, all the oil in the ground would be very hard to get out because we've taken all the easy stuff. If we are not the first advanced civilization on the planet Earth, and by advanced what I think he means and I mean for sure is a globally knowing civilization, science and technology and communications developed so the entire planet has reasonable real-time communications and is using lots of extracts and producing lots of stuff, and is on the fringe of space exploration. So what he's found is that the presence of the fossils and that we have kind of proves that there's no previous civilization. He talks about how fossil fuels are the obvious and easy answer to the energy requirement for any new civilization. So one would think that if we do kill ourselves or fall or decide to give up on technology, that humans version 2 would not have the ability to create technology that we have had. And he actually states a fairly straightforward case that proves that's not true. That he reckons it would take hundreds of cycles of advanced collapse on one planet before technology could not possibly rebuild from scratch and enter space and become a space-faring civilization. Which is kind of good news if you're worried about the collapse of society, which I kind of am. That as long as we don't kill every single human being on the planet, there is a good chance that we can have a form of technology which will look similar to and use similar principles that we have now, but would actually be used in different ways because everything is unique the second time around. So I think that was kind of great. Now, given that we are the first technological society on the planet, there's no trace of previous nuclear explosions, easily available fossil fuels, easily available uranium ores, surface tin, things like that we know. Given that we are the first advanced civilization, he states that we might be in the advanced state. Well, he doesn't say this at all, actually. I say this. So we may be in the advanced state of proving the Fermi Paradox, and any advanced intellect capable of using an opposing thumb and using exhaust reaction will actually spread and virus itself in such numbers and such extractive processes without recycling and reducing, without comprehension of what will happen in the future, that they will inevitably destroy themselves by accident, design or war. So that's the bad news, is that because we are the first version, we know that there's been no previous technological societies, either human or not, on the planet, no intellectual dinosaurs. So we know that this is our shot. This is humanity's shot on this planet to get into space. Now, if we do collapse, he's quite right. Another technological society could arise, whether it's human or given 100 million years or so. English bull terriers develop huge brains. They could have a society which would look radically different from ours, but based on a similar precipice. Now, given that most United States of American citizens believe in many things that other people might find strange, most, according to the survey that I'll show, most Americans believe that ancient advanced technological civilizations existed on the planet. Now, the question could have been wrong, because as I said, there have been civilizations and there have been fairly advanced civilizations on the planet in the past. What there hasn't been is a global knowing civilization. The Mayans did not know about Siberia, the Mayans did not know about Rome, and vice versa. So when Rome fell, it didn't bother the Mayans. When the Mayans fell, it didn't bother Italy. Whereas the type of society that gets to the point we're at now, it's unlikely that the United States will fall and the rest of the world would not also fall at the same time. So we are more complex and more technological now than we've ever been. And he says that there's been no evidence of previous civilizations being that great as we are. Now, given the fact that most Americans believe that ancient complex civilizations existed, that leads me into a question for them. What's driving their need to know, to believe that ancient civilizations existed and have disappeared? What is the point to trying to hide those civilizations from the majority of people on the planet? Given that civilizations can rise and can fall, if that is true, which Mr. Issacs makes a strong case is not true, where would we be? Why would we be hiding that present knowledge? In case we get frightened that we're going to collapse as well? I just can't see it, to be honest with you. I think it's really attractive. I mean, I think von Däniken, I used to read all his books when I was like 12, right? Makes a great case for previous alien visitation. And in fact, there may have been previous alien visitation. What we have not had is a global technological, consumeristic, capitalistic, or socialist or communist society that expanded across the entire planet. So that's my takeaway from this, is that we are the first version of technology on this planet, and we owe it to ourselves and the planet to do a good job. He also talked about the fossil record, the fact that any advanced civilization tends to have burial rites, and even if you assume that they used cremation to remove bones and stuff like that, even memorial stones are put in very specific patterns. Talks about how civilized people with large amounts of technology just can't but help create patterns. and very large patterns, very obvious patterns, which would be clear signs that they existed millennia later. Anyway, so that's all from me, and that's all from Becky. Check out his site. Lots of stuff on hard sci-fi and space exploration, which you may not be interested in. But if you look around, the titles are pretty self-explanatory. There is quite a lot on doomsday scenarios, and they're always fun. Alright, au revoir.
It's a god-awful small affair to the girl with the mousy hair, but her mummy is yelling no, and her daddy has told her to go, but her friend is nowhere to be seen. Now she walks through her sunken dream to the seat with the clearest view.